We're going to translate equations into slope-intercept form, and then we're going to graph them. So remember, slope-intercept form is always in the form y equals mx plus b, where y is on one side of the equal sign all by itself and everything else is on the other side. M is your slope. It's the value that's multiplied by x when it's in this form. And b is the number that's added on, and that's the y-intercept. So first we're going to try to solve a couple of these equations for y. So we're going to get y on one side, everything else on the other side, and that'll put it into slope-intercept form. So I'm just going to draw a line down through my equal sign. I have 3x plus y equals 7. I want y all by itself. There's this 3x here that I need to move to the other side. Because it's a positive 3x, the opposite operation to get it to go away to the other side is minus 3x. But anything you do to one side of the equal sign, you have to do to the other. So I have 3x minus 3x is 0. So bring down the y equals 7 minus 3x. I want this in slope-intercept form, so I do want my x term in front. So I'm just going to rearrange this side. Y equals, okay, my 7's positive, and my 3x has a minus in front of it, which I can also treat as a negative. So I need to keep 3x negative and the 7 positive when I rearrange. So this becomes negative 3x is in front, because that negative or minus stayed with a 3x. And because 7 is positive, it's plus 7. And this is in slope-intercept form. All right, so the next one, I'm going to draw my line down through the equal sign. Again, I want y all by itself. So I'm going to start by moving the 6x. It's positive, so the opposite is to subtract 6x from both sides. 6x minus 6x is 0. So I have 2y equals. Okay, so before I just rewrote my value on the right side, and then I switched it around so it's in the correct order. But I know that I need what's on the right side to have my x term first plus the number. So instead of writing 8 minus 6x, I'm going to put this minus 6x or negative 6x in front. The 8's positive, so it's going to be plus 8. So negative 6x plus 8 and 8 minus 6x are the exact same thing, only because we kept their operation in front of them, or their sign. The 8 stayed positive, the 6x stayed negative. All right, we're not done yet. We have y being multiplied by 2. Opposite operation is to divide. So we have to divide everything on both sides by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So we're left with 1y, which is just y, equals, all right, negative 6x divided by 2. Well, we could do negative 6 divided by 2, and then it's multiplied by x. So negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3 times x. So here, just deal with the numbers. Plus, but don't forget to bring that x down because that's part of your term. It's multiplied by x. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So our answer is y equals negative 3x plus 4. All right, so let's try a couple more, getting a little more difficult each time. All right, so this one we have a lot of negatives. So I'm going to start by getting rid of my negative 3x. Opposite is plus 3x to both sides. Negative 3x plus 3x is 0. Here I have a negative in front of the 4y. Don't forget to bring that down. Equals, my 3x in this case is positive because it's plus 3x. So I'm going to put that in front. Minus 12. I had to keep that negative or minus in front of the 12. All right, so here's the tricky part. Y is being multiplied by negative 4. You have to divide everything on both sides by negative 4. Not just 4, but negative 4, because you want y to be positive. So everything on both sides being divided by negative 4. Negative 4 divided by negative 4 is positive 1. So I have positive 1y, which I can just write as y, equals. Right, we have 3 divided by negative 4. I can just write it as a fraction. A positive divided by a negative is going to be a negative. So I'm just going to put my negative out front. And I can rewrite this. 3 divided by 4 is 3/4. And it's multiplied by x. Okay, so I'm just bringing the x out so it's multiplied by the fraction. This is the exact same thing as 3x divided by negative 4. All right, we have, I'm going to treat this minus as a negative right now. Negative 12 divided by negative 4. Well, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. 12 divided by 4 is 3. So y equals negative 3/4 x plus 3 is our answer. All right, next one deals with those lovely fractions. So again, draw that line down through the equal sign. Move your x term to the other side. So it's positive 1/3 x. We're going to subtract 1/3 x from both sides. 1/3 x minus 1/3 x is 0. So we're left with a positive 1/6 y equals, I'm going to put my negative 1/3 x in front, plus 2. All right, this is where you need to remember. All right, well, y is being multiplied by 1/6. So technically, opposite operation is to divide both sides by 1/6. But when you divide by a fraction, you actually multiply by the reciprocal. So I'm going to multiply both sides by the fraction flipped over. Because this has 2 terms, I multiply that entire side, everything, by the fraction flipped over. Okay, so, well, 6 times 1 is 6. 1 times 6 is 6. And 6 divided by 6 is 1. So this just leaves me with 1y. All right, here, I'm going to do a little math to the side so you can see what I'm doing. 6/1 times negative 1/3 x. I'm just going to distribute this 6/1 and multiply it by everything inside the parentheses. So 6/1 times negative 1/3. Remember, multiply straight across. 6 times negative 1 is negative 6. Over 1 times 3 is 3. And negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. So that means 6/1 times negative 1/3 x is negative 2x. Plus 6/1 times 2. Well, 6/1 is just 6, so I'm going to do 6 times 2 is 12. And there is my answer. All right, so we've done a couple with just solving for y, getting it in slope-intercept form. So now we're going to solve for y, or get it into slope-intercept form, and then we're going to graph the slope and y-intercept so we can create the graph of this linear equation. So for this first one, to get y by itself, I'm going to subtract 2x on both sides. 2x minus 2x is 0. So I have y equals negative 2x minus 3. Okay, so remember the slope. That's the number only when it's in this form. So before, when it wasn't in slope-intercept form, I did not know what the slope or y-intercept was. We can only identify it when it's in this form, where it's y equals mx plus b. So m, the number multiplied by x, is our slope, which is negative 2. B, what's added or subtracted on, is our y-intercept. Since it's minus 3, the y-intercept is negative 3. I need to make my slope into a fraction so it's in rise over run form. So we're going to put a 1 below the negative 2. Always make it into a fraction by putting a 1 below it if it's a whole number. All right, to graph this, y-intercept, that means it goes through my y-axis at negative 3. So I'm going to put my dot. I'm going to use the slope to graph my second point. So I'm going to start at the y-intercept. My rise is negative 2, meaning going down 2. My run's positive 1, so to the right 1. And then I'm just going to connect those 2 points. And this is my graph of the line. Make sure you don't just connect between the two dots because your graph continues going on. So it shouldn't be a short little line. It should span your graph because it will keep going. All right, next one. Let's see, this one, we need to get y by itself. I'm going to start by moving that 10x, which is positive. Opposite is subtract 10x on both sides. 10x minus 10x is 0. Bring down that negative 5y equals negative 10x plus 15. Y is being multiplied by negative 5, so opposite is to divide everything on both sides by negative 5. Negative 5 divided by negative 5 is positive 1. So we have our 1y, or just y, equals negative 10 divided by negative 5 is positive 2. And that's being multiplied by x. 15 divided by negative 5 is negative 3. So I'm going to rewrite this as minus 3. So I now know my slope is positive 2. My y-intercept is negative 3. So you can see before we had absolutely no clue what the slope and y-intercept were. So we have to get it into this form. So that means when I graph, it goes through my y-axis at negative 3. Always find on the y-axis where your y-intercept is. Put that point. Make the slope into a fraction by putting a 1 below it. So from your y-intercept, we're going to rise positive 2, run positive 1. Connect those points, and remember, continue your graph. Don't just put it between the two dots. Okay, so I have 4 problems for you to try. Go ahead and start by trying these first 2. Just put them into slope-intercept form. Pause it here when you're ready. Come back for the answers. All right, I'm going to start the answers. We're going to subtract 6x from both sides. So we get 3y equals negative 6x minus 9. To get y by itself, divide everything on both sides by 3 because y is being multiplied by 3, opposite divide. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So we have y equals negative 6x divided by 3 is negative 2x. Negative 9 divided by 3 is negative 3. Okay. Second one, we're going to subtract 1/2 x on both sides. We get 1/4 y equals negative 1/2 x plus 2. Now to get rid of the 1/4, y is being multiplied by 1/4. To get rid of that 1/4, remember you multiply both sides by the reciprocal. Don't really have room in front, so I'm going to write it in back. And I'm going to distribute the 1/4. These cancel out, so I'm left with y equals 4 over 1 times negative 1/2 gives me negative 2x plus 4 over 1, which is just 4, times 2 is 8. Okay, so hopefully those are easy. I'm going to have you do 2 more where you're going to put it in slope-intercept form, find the slope, y-intercept, and then graph. Come back when you're ready for the answers. All right, 3. We're going to subtract 3x on both sides. So we get negative y equals negative 3x minus 5. This one's tricky. You have to divide everything on both sides by negative 1. Negative divided by negative is a positive. You can't have a negative y. So y equals negative 3x divided by negative 1 is positive 3x. Negative 5 divided by negative 1 is positive 5. So we have 3 is our slope, 5 is our y-intercept. Okay, so I'm going to graph the y-intercept at positive 5. Make slope into a fraction by putting it over 1. Well, I can't rise positive 3, run positive 1, but I know a negative over a negative's also a positive. So I can just say negative 3 over negative 1. Well, that reduces to positive 3 over positive 1. So rising 3 and running positive 1 is the same thing as going down 3 and going to the left 1. and it's exactly the same. So if you run out of room on your graph, just go the opposite direction for both of them. You have to change the direction for both, and it'll be the exact same thing, because if I rise 3, run 1, it's still a point on this line. Okay, last one. Add 2x to both sides, and I get 3y equals 2x plus 6. I'm going to divide everything by 3. We have y equals 2/3 x plus 2. So my slope is 2/3, my y-intercept 2, meaning my graph goes through the y-axis at 2, and from there I'm going to rise 2, run 3 using my slope. Hopefully you were able to get everything into slope-intercept form and graph your lines.